know that we are on the verge of winning, but there are some things that we have to deal with, and one of them is we know unemployment is sky high. You know, I talked to Art Laffer last night on GBTV, and he was great. He was so inspirational. We should have him on radio because you'll feel so much better when you hear the story of 1980. Art Laffer was there at the side of Ronald Reagan, and he said, Glenn, this is the summer of 79 or 80. He said, it's exactly the same thing. History is repeating itself. And he said, he thinks it's going to be a landslide. He thinks things are so bad and it's coming undone. I mean, look at Ms. Milbank and what she writes today at the Washington Post. Dana Milbank, this sweet old lady that writes for the Washington Post, she says that the White House is completely falling apart.
And she's a liberal.
Oh, she's a real liberal. She's a crazy liberal. But she's
the one that's written about you, I think, a few times.
I'm not sure.
Right?
I'm not sure. Is that the same? I don't know.
know.
But anyway, she goes off on how everything is coming undone, and it is, and unemployment is coming undone. There was a story that we'll get into later. France now, they're not only talking about Spain now that they quote took care of Spain yesterday, which didn't work. Now they're looking at Italy, but there's another story that says that France will be done within 2 months, which fits into the 3-month countdown that George Soros has given us. He says this was last month, 3 months, and the euro is over. Well, that's significant. So what does that mean for the president of the United States? Well, you know what? The events aren't as important as what really happens in your life. And if anybody is making it clear what's happened, the president can say all he wants. The private sector is doing fine. That's not true. Our debt is so outrageous, we can never repay it. Our deficit is mounting to the tune of over $1 trillion every year. That Europe is on fire in more ways than one. And now, according to the Federal Reserve, Americans' net wealth dropped almost 40% from 2007 to 2010. From around 126,000 to 77,000. In other words, we were sent back in our wealth, each and every American, almost 2 decades. In 2010, the median income fell 8% to $45,800. Aren't the federal workers, aren't they making about $110,000? Isn't Congress making $175,000? Meanwhile, while they're complaining, while they're whining, while they can't get anything done, while they need the president to go out and fight their battles for them, your income has fallen 8%, and nobody's fighting your battle. Now, obviously, the survey is from 2007 to 10, so President Bush has to take some blame, and he has. But there's been nothing but blame for the former president ever since he left office. We know one individual that will never, ever take any blame or accept any blame, and that's Barack Obama. Say it with me, because we can all say it. He's inherited the worst economy since Charlemagne. We've heard it. We know. The collapse of the housing market is most responsible for the massive loss in America's overall wealth. Most of our wealth is in our home. How many of us can't sell our home now? If we did sell our home, we would be massively underwater. We all know the Democrats, Barack Obama included, played a huge role in setting the stage for that debacle, insisting that there be no investigation and no restriction on Fannie or Freddie, calling anybody who raised any kind of concern bloated, corrupt government-sponsored entities, If you pointed at those and said, we've got to look out, there's trouble here, you're a racist just for making the allegation. And again, while he isn't blameless, George Bush called for something to be done with Fannie and Freddie 18 times over the first 6 years of his presidency. Any leader with a spine, a leader whom you could trust when things got tough, a leader with courage would stand up and face the music. He would admit that he has had high national office since 2006, serving as a U.S. Senator in a supermajority Democratic Congress before becoming president, accepting the reins of that office for the past 4 years or almost. He would admit that things have not gotten better, that in fact, in many ways, they're worse off. He would admit, when he would say the private sector is doing fine, most people are in the private sector. How can we possibly be doing fine when we have lost 40% of our wealth? The average American has lost 40% of their wealth. That's your nest egg. That's what you work your whole life to build up. And all he's concentrating on are the, quote, kids. First of all, when did we stop calling or start calling 20-somethings kids? When do you stop being a kid? Our kids. He's worried about those guys. When did you start hearing the president actually talking? I've never before in American history have I heard a president so disregard our elderly. There is no third rail for him. Social Security, Medicare, all of this stuff. He got into bed with AARP, sold our elderly down the river. We have a coward in office. A coward who's never accepted personal responsibility, a coward who has never been accountable for any of his actions. I challenge any supporter of Barack Obama to call me and tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong on this. Show me where this man has taken responsibility. Show it to me. I don't know of a single instance where Barack Obama has said, I overpromised and underdelivered. I've not heard him say, the buck stops here, I'm responsible. In fact, he has said exactly the opposite.
I didn't overpromise, and I didn't underestimate how tough this was going to be. I always believed that this was a long-term project.
Do you remember? Really? Do we have any memory? We're still in a painful mess. He's still blaming his predecessor. Only in the very first days of his presidency, before he had a track record behind him, did he say anything like this.
If I don't have this done in 3 years, then there's going to be a one-term proposition.
But he didn't overpromise or underestimate. Is it done? The president is incapable of helping us because he is incapable of seeing the problems. He's also incapable of correcting course because those around him are incapable of giving him an honest assessment. No one in the media will give him an honest assessment. Where have we gone wrong? Well, we're not looking at reality with this president. This president is saying that the worst thing about us, the thing that's causing all the problem, is the public sector. You're telling me that think about this. He says that's police, fire, and teachers. That's what he always says, police, fire, and teachers. You're telling me that we've lost 40% of the value in our homes and our wealth because we're laying off teachers? First of all, I don't see the big epidemic on teacher layoffs. I mean, we've lost jobs in every sector. Now, I could see if maybe you could make that case that we were going to be behind the eight ball because of teachers years and years down the road, but you can't even make that case because that actually might work to our advantage. The way our school systems are, that might work to our advantage.